Hey, Gopsha here. Today we're looking at Lingsha, the brand new 5-star abundance, and a break-oriented sustain with a cute follow-up. Just like with Jiaoshe, we will evaluate her fairly despite her role overlap with the current 4-star. We'll tackle her kit, how it works, then Eidolons, then look at her best builds and cones including her signature. Then it's on to energy rotations and teams, and then we'll talk about how good she is, and if she's worth your time over Gallagher. Like and sub and share to friends if this video helps, and let's begin. She is a Fire Abundance unit, our second of said combo, except she's a limited 5-star, so we have high hopes. Among base stats, she also has exactly the same base speed and energy as Gallagher, so at least your speed tuning gear won't go to waste. She also has a fairly decent base attack for a sustain. All Trace priority focus on her ultimate for team damage amp, then her skill and talent for healing purposes. Her basic attack can be ignored. Now onto her kit. We have to start her kit overview with a look at her talent and Fu Yuan, another cute fire summon just like Numbi. When using her skill, or technique, Fu Yuan will be summoned. They have a speed of 90 and an action count of 3. Fu Yuan has a cap of 5 action counts, and every skill use from Lingsha will accumulate another 3 actions, whereas dropping to 0 will make her disappear from the action order. So Fu Yuan is a summon, and when they act, a bunch of things happen. First, damage to all enemies, which also does 10 toughness reduction to all fire-weak enemies. Secondly, another instance of this damage happens, but specifically to one target, but it will prioritize fire-weak enemies that aren't broken. So if 5 enemies can get hit, then one of those 5 takes another hit. The third effect is a team-wide 1 debuff cleanse. The fourth effect is a team-wide heal. Note that Lingsha's healing scales on attack like Luocha. So Fu Yuan acting saves the day, and they will act a lot as we'll see. Fu Yuan won't be regenerating energy though, take that into account. So Lingsha's skill is up next. It is another AoE attack with 10 toughness reduction to all enemies hit. She is literally an erudition unit right now. She will deal damage, heal all allies yet again, and also advance Fu Yuan by 20%. Advancing Fu Yuan by 20% is like giving a 1.25 times speed boost, and they will therefore act as if they had 112.5 speed rather than 90, which is nuts. Now remember, using skill also gives Fu Yuan 3 extra action count. This means even if you have ways of letting her generate SP, she will always need to use skill eventually for her kit to do its job. Lingsha's ultimate, Dripping Mistscape, has a cost of 110 energy. Another AoE attack with decent scaling, and this ult will inflict the Befog debuff onto enemies for 2 turns. This applies a 25% break vulnerability modifier. For reference, Gallagher can hit a 13.2% one. It's a great amount of damage amp. On top of damage and this debuff, Lingsha will yet again heal everyone, and she will also advance Fu Yuan by 100%, aka they will instantly take action. You can think of this like Gallagher, where instead of Gallagher advancing himself, Lingsha instead advances Fu Yuan. This means you do have a clutch debuff cleanse or clutch healing burst whenever you need it. But ideally you use this just after Fu Yuan acts or is super far away from acting to ensure a quick 1-2 buckle my shoe combo where Fu Yuan acts twice in quick succession for a lot of toughness damage and healing. It would also mean cleansing 2 debuffs on the whole team, something no other character can do in such a short amount of time. Lastly, Lingsha's technique summons Fu Yuan at the start of the next battle on top of immediately inflicting Befog for 2 turns. This not only means Lingsha no longer needs to use an immediate skill point, but it also means tons of instant break damage amp for the team. It also drastically speeds up when the first Fu Yuan turn happens, so you want to use this every important battle. Onto traces. Lingsha steals Gallagher's trace and twists it slightly. She will gain attack and healing boost scaling with her break effect, and since attack scales her heals, it means she double dips. This goes up to a 50% attack and 20% healing boost. You'll need 200% break effect to cap this out, but as always, having correct other stats is more important than maxing this out, and team buffs can help. Her A4 gives 10 extra energy when using her basic attack, which now makes it equal in energy generation to her skill, and is a great buff to her rotation power, giving her a super fast ultimate as we'll see in the rotation section. Finally, her A6 is like Luocha's emergency skill. When Fu Yuan is on the field, when an ally drops under 60% HP, Fu Yuan will immediately take action. This won't remove an action count or mess up their current AV, so it's basically a free use. So free damage, toughness, cleanse, healing. Now luckily our fiery fly friend consumes 40% of her HP on her normal skill. making this very easy to instantly achieve every fight. It can happen again after 2 Lingsha turns. In trace bonuses, she finally gains a lovely 37.3% break effect, 18% HP, and 10% attack. So now let's check out her Eidolons. Her E1 is absolutely going to be baiting people, and for a good reason. It's pretty strong. First, she gets a 50% weakness break efficiency buff to herself, which now means alongside Raw Mei, she will be doubling her toughness reduction's base values. It's a big DPS increase for herself on top of helping out a Firefly achieve her own super breaks quicker. On top of that, a 20% def reduction when enemies are weakness broken. Including Raw Mei E1, Firefly E1, and the Cavalry set, Firefly will now be ignoring 80% of the enemy def on super breaks, which is pretty crazy. E2 gives a 3-turn 40% break effect buff. Whilst it can be up permanently, it's quite negligible due to saturation, and I would definitely stop at E1. E4 is just more healing, but if you can pull this many Lingshas, I doubt you have healing problems ever. And E6 is of course crazy, 20% all type res pen permanently pretty much, and Fuyuan also does more toughness reduction on their turns, aka more super break damage and help getting others to that point. Now let's check out builds. Her standard build outside of break teams will want her on 4 Passerby for better starting SP, or 2p speed and 2p break effect or healing bonus. You want Fleet or Lusaka or Vonwak here. A super break build can also run her on 4 Passerby, but if you're fine on SP, you will want her on 4 Cavalry with 2 Forge or 2 Talia. You can also run Vonwak here for specific speed tuning scenarios, and I give a couple later after the stat goal section. And if running her in Pure Fiction, I recommend running 4 Thief on her. Versus Fire Week, you get a whole ton of energy, and you can even run her as the main carry. With an energy rope, she spams her ults, and it was a simple 40k for me, but it was a break-oriented Pure Fiction. Now some people might want to run her crit since she is attack scaling and has okay multipliers, but I found it to be pretty meh. You'll need some super fast well-tuned supports with luxury investment if you want to run her crit from what I can tell. I don't recommend it. Maybe when the summon meta rolls around and maybe into Pure Fiction with Jade. If you do want to run it though, you'd run Valorous or Duke with the new Banana set. Anyway, for Lingsha's normal main stats, you'll want outgoing healing on the body, speed boots, an attack percent orb, and then energy or break rope. I prefer energy, but there are some cases where you can run break. For a stat goal, I'd aim for 151 speed and 100% break effect, where attack and HP and def are really up to you. 100% break effect is considering an energy rope and no signature. So remember, Forge gives 40%, Harmony MC gives like 100%, Raw Mei gives 20%, Watch make it even more. Her signature also gives 60%. Now let's talk about Lingsha's speed as well as Fuyuan's. Since they have a speed of 90, they will have a base AV of 111.11. Unless Lingsha gets 180 speed, she cannot take 2 turns per Fuyuan action, and that's not even including the 20% advance. However, she can take 3 turns per 2 Fuyuan actions. Considering she does a skill basic, Fuyuan will consume 18,000 action gauge for 2 actions. So in order to act 3 times before that, Lingsha will need just over 150 speed. What this also lets us do is let Fuyuan act just after Lingsha, and then we can ult for an instant back-to-back combo. For Vonwak, if you run Vonwak with 151 speed, 160 with Raw Mei, you'll actually act twice before your first Fuyuan, allowing you to basic on the first turn for free SP and still act just before Fuyuan. You can even choose to basic twice for maximum SP at the trade-off of AoE toughness. This then lets you ult just after for a large amount of burst toughness damage. If not, you can also skill on your first turn, bring your Fuyuan to before your second turn, and then you can basic into ult and achieve a similar effect. Without Vonwak, you still won't miss out though. Considering 151 speed, 160 thanks to Raw Mei, you'll act at 125 AV for your second turn, meaning just after Fuyuan's first go. So basic or skill first turn, then basic into ult on second turn. There are a lot of shenanigans you could do with timing Lingsha's summon, just like with Topaz and Numby. Anyways, light cone time. Onto Lingsha's signature. First, a 60% break effect buff, lovely. Then, when the wearer attacks enemies with their ult, you inflict a 10% vulnerability to all enemies hit for 2 turns. This increases to 18% if you have over 150% break effect. So it's a Gallagher light cone option too if you don't have quid pro quo strats, or if you're not abusing multiplication. It's a strong cone and offers some great damage amp, even if a bit diluted in the meta break teams. Echoes of the Coffin can generate some super fast ults for her if you have it, as well as an easy first turn ult, though I don't recommend pulling for it. Knight of Fright and post-op S3 or higher with a 5% energy planar can substitute an energy rope on Lingsha's rotations, therefore letting you swap to a break rope. They are thus decent options. Multiplication is an option too for crazy speed tuning possibilities. For example, at 163 speed including Ralmei's buff, the basic will make you act on your second turn at 110 AV just before Fu Yuan's first turn. This means again you can act twice, generating a skill point, and also being able to ult just after Fu Yuan acts. And what is real is there for free break effect, but I prefer having utility over this stat stick. She doesn't need the self-healing either, she heals way too much already. Now let's check out some energy rotations. Lingsha's standard rotation will be a skill basic one, and she can generate her ult easily with this with only an energy rope. This energy rope can be substituted with a break rope if you use post-op S5, it's just barely enough. It can also be substituted with a break rope at post-op S3 or Knight of Fright S1 with a 5% energy planar. And with Echoes of the Coffin versus 3 targets, Lingsha can perform a 2-turn ult with skill basic. This Fu Yuan can proc the Echo's flat energy generation. This is even harder on SP though. And finally, with the Thief set on top with Echoes and an energy rope of Pure Fiction, you can hit some 1-skill rotation sometimes when considering her ult will also break a whole wave. And finally, it's that time, teams and comparisons. First, let's get it over with. How is she versus Gallagher? Well, comparing kits first. Even though healing isn't really an issue in Super Break, Lingsha trumps Gallagher's healing by quite a margin. She has emergency heals on top of frequent follow-ups that heal the whole team easily. No more having to attack with a teammate or Gallagher, and Fu Yuan can intervene in between big enemy combos, which makes runs much safer. Then cleansing. Gallagher can only cleanse a single target with his skill, and he doesn't really want to skill much. Fu Yuan cleanses the whole team every time they act, and this can be done back to back for a double AoE cleanse. Now luckily Gallagher is easily immune to debuffs himself, and Firefly has some F-res, but Imaginary MC and Ralmei will definitely be loving Lingsha's cleansing power. Remember, for these first 2 conditions, simulations will not show any of this. All we show is damage, and runs can be dictated by enemy CC or deaths in general. For energy rotations, Lingsha easily hits a 3-turn one, and Gallagher usually hits a 5-turn one, but he does have a 100% advance to compensate. However, this means over a long fight you're going to have way more Lingsha ultimates. This not only makes her signature more beneficial for her over him, but it also means yet again more toughness damage and cleansing. For damage amp, E6 Gallagher has a 3-turn, 13.2% break vulnerability amp. Lingsha has a 2-turn one, but it is 25% and she has a faster ult rotation. She can also apply it with her technique, whereas Gallagher cannot if using an attacking technique over his, like Firefly's. She will fall off in uptime later on, but she has a high impact when it's up, so make good use of it. For SP generation, Gallagher will always win, it's his main thing. Lingsha definitely has SP problems, especially as fights get longer, even with Harmony MC using some basics more often. A Ralmei Sig would definitely help your Lingsha team, or E1 Firefly if running with her. Now you can basic a bit at the start of the run on Lingsha thanks to her technique, which makes the start of runs not so bad. Lingsha is kind of SP flexible. She is SP positive, but she can be more SP positive if you have enough Fu Yuan actions already. And she can be more SP negative if you have an abundance of SP, for example in E1 Firefly comps. It's up to you and your fight and your team composition. And for toughness damage, Gallagher has a lot of burst toughness damage, especially into a single target enemy, but Lingsha destroys him in AoE, and can even surpass him in single target over time thanks to Fu Yuan having a 2-step attack. Here are some toughness reduction comparison charts. And what this AoE part means is Lingsha can even make Firefly effective into Pure Fiction, but there she is kinda just the main carry in Pure Fiction and has Firefly tagging along. Now Gallagher still works amazingly, you don't necessarily need to upgrade, and he can't be replaced when you need a ton of SP or quid pro quo abuse, so don't feel sad. Now finally onto teams, because it's not all about Firefly. She is of course made for this team and it is very powerful, especially with her as an upgrade over Gallagher. Again, watch out for SP, and of course Gallagher is still extremely viable. Butil is the other premier break DPS, my only problem is he really needs the SP, so Lingsha hurts here, and I'd rather run a Gallagher. Boothill also is one of the safer Zero Cyclers, as well as being one of the strongest Zero Cyclers, so generally I'd opt for that over bringing a Sustain. You can run Lingsha as her own carry too, in pure fiction if you like, and I liked running her with Herta here because of the whimsicality promoting super break damage. Lingsha would break the whole enemy board, Herta would follow up and cause more super break, charging up that AoE hit. This was an easy 40k. You can also run her with Jade as a deck collector, as Lingsha and Fuyuan will give 45 stacks each to Jade every time they act, and Jade's SP positivity can help Lingsha spam out skills. I feel like Jade is cheating here though, and you don't need her to make Lingsha pure fiction viable. And Fei Xiao's premium team of Fei Xiao, Aventurine, Robin, Topaz can have Lingsha replace Aventurine just fine. It was a very comfy zero cycle for me, just Topaz needs to use basics more often than usual. Fuyuan is a consistent amount of flying auras for Fei Xiao, and with you being able to instantly advance them, you can time some cool things with Numbi as well. I guess we would call this the flirt team. And in general, she is going to be an amazing sustain for quality of life and heals. If you need one, she will work in most teams as a generic OP 5-star sustain. I wouldn't put her in Qingcui or Lune teams though. And I think since she does have a summon, she will be the premier summon sustain when that meta rolls out. That is until we get a dedicated 5-star one, or maybe a 4-star appetizer for the meta, like Gallagher was. Anyways, I hope this video helped answer any questions you might have had on Lingsha. If it did, let me know with a like and sub, and also let me know if you're pulling for her. Thanks to my amazing YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a good day.